Okay, live. What's good, everybody? This is the one and only GM, and today I'm bringing back the podcast, and we got a special guest, Moonsault Slayer. Y'all probably seen his videos on YouTube. He brings the drama, he brings the news, everything you need to know about the Tekken community. So this is the new episode. I guess I'll call it Meet Out Cafe because that's what it was called before. So this, I'm trying to bring this back. In the next few weeks, I might have a couple of different guests. I already talked to some people. One of them is a ex League player. He's also a tournament player, so he might be the next guest. So yeah, Moonsault Slayer, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so first question. I know a lot of people are interested, but how did you get into Tekken? Was Tekken 8 your first Tekken, or have you been playing Tekken for a long time? Because a lot of people are interested, and we all know you use Yoshimitsu, but we don't know what's your first Tekken. So yeah, tell us about yourself.
Well, so before I say what the first Tekken that I played is, I would want to go farther back to my first like fighting game because when I first was introduced to fighting games was like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. I pretty much played every single one of those games. And then when I first was introduced to Tekken was at a cousin's house, sleepovers type. And I remember seeing Tekken and I was like, what is this game? Like at the oldest memory I have of a character is Jack when he puts his arms out and he flies in the sky. And I was like blown away because the one thing about Tekken that captured me is that it was so different from Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Moving into three dimensions was something that was like I couldn't even comprehend. So when I seen like I think it was Tekken 5 because I also remember going up against Jinpapi Mishima and the boss in that game was crazy. But it's like that was my earliest memory of Tekken and just being blown away by like the mechanics and the 3D element. That's something that stuck with me. But the first Tekken that like I've purchased myself and played every day was Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and I was terrible. Green rank, button mashing, throwing out launch punishable attacks, but I had a blast. I had a lot of fun with that game. But something that I think held me back about that game is, or held back like me from progressing in skill, is in terms of playing multiple characters. I played Yoshimitsu as a primary, but pretty much cycled through the whole characters as a secondary. And I really didn't progress in skill because I just felt like I was dealing with too much. So once Tekken 7 was about to release, I dropped all the other characters and solely focused on Yoshimitsu. And this is when I started to see like a type of progress in my skill. And then entering into Tekken 7, I went from green, orange, all the way up until blue. And then I ended Tekken 7 being Emperor rank. And I felt like my experience with that game was good. And I was very hopeful for what Tekken 8 had to offer. Um, but when I tried Tekken 8, I remember I was immediately like, I don't know, I just didn't like the Yoshimitsu of Tekken 8. I just felt like something was missing. And even to this day, I'm still trying to figure out like what did they do from 7 to 8 that ruined my personal enjoyment of the game. But I still feel like Tekken could be really good. And that's something that I try to highlight when I'm critiquing the game and looking back on all the past games.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting to hear and stuff like that when it comes to your progress from. Because I'm gonna be real with you. Like even me, when I first started playing, I started playing like in like since like tag one I was playing, but I wasn't in the tournament scene till like Tekken 5. It took me a long time to get good myself. I think I started getting good once I started learning frames. Once I started learning frames, when to attack and when to punish, that's when I started getting a little bit better at the game. Cause Tekken is all about to me Tekken getting better at Tekken just understanding the game more. Like once you understand the game more, you start understanding how to block more. You start understanding when to sidewalk, when to attack, how to punish. So there's a lot of things of that nature. So I got another question. What is it about Tekken 8 Yoshi that doesn't feel like Yoshimitsu to you? That because I heard you say that he don't feel right. Like what is it about him that makes him feel different than other Yoshimitsus? Because from my experience, because I fought a lot of different Yoshimitsus in a lot of different Tekken games, Yoshimitsu was never able to like completely like rush you down the way he can. Like he's always been kind of like a character that kind of like hits you and like forces you. to like try to hit back so he could counter you with a flash or like a spin or something like that. He's never been a character that's been like I'm gonna overwhelm you, and then when you try to attack, I counter you type of thing. You get what I'm saying? So what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think the overall flaw with Tekken 8 is that they tried to force every character to be rushed down.
Yeah,
And the biggest problems with that is Yoshimitsu. Yoshimitsu is supposed to be a turtle type of I like to describe it as like a don't touch me type of character. That's what Yoshimitsu is. Like Steve Fox kind of have a little bit of that with back two where like he can that can sneak up on you. Yoshimitsu, like Asuka, this is just my own like vision of these characters, but I just think of them as like a don't touch me, don't get in my space type of character. And with Tekken 8, they gave a lot of these characters super powerful tools to just be really aggressive. But also, a lot of their defensive tools is still there, like Yoshimitsu's flash, Yoshimitsu's spin. And I feel like players are feeling the power that Yoshimitsu has, and it's not supposed to be there. But the thing is that people attack Yoshimitsu for like, I feel like they're attacking the wrong parts of Yoshimitsu. Like they attack the the like his signature tools. But his signature tools are always there and they're supposed to be there. But what I think really makes him so obnoxious for me is all of the aggressive stuff. Forward one plus two. I think 3-1, that kick that he does where he could crouch the second hit, which is the high, and he goes in helicopter stance. That move is terrible. It's not terrible in terms of performance, but it's terrible in terms of like Yoshimitsu is not supposed to have that. I went back to play Tekken 7 during the boycott and whatnot, and I caught myself multiple times trying to use that move to just get like some free forced offense. And I think that is what's ruining Yoshimitsu. It's just a lot of moves like that that are just you could press it, you could do it, and you just get free offense. And I know people will say like, "Oh, that's how the Flash is," but the Flash is supposed to be like everything else about Yoshimitsu is supposed to be really weak. Really, really weak. Low damage, a slow character, bad moves, bad pokes, bad everything. But then he's supposed to have these tools that surprise you. But when you give him a very solid kit and a very aggressive kit, but then he has all of these surprising tools in there, it just really ruins what the character is supposed to be. And like even in season one, when I was like supreme with Yoshimitsu, it didn't feel worth. Like I felt all of my opponents just dying with no way to stop it. I could start turtling and play Yoshimitsu and cook them, or I could play Tekken 8 and just force them down, and it was no satisfaction there.
that makes perfect sense. Cause the funny thing is, I remember I met Harada back like in Tekken 6. I went to like World Cyber Games for the American National. I met him and we was asking him different stuff about characters, and dudes was like, asked him, yo, like why is Yoshimitsu always bad? Like why is he always like low tier? And Harada said it's because the character's designed to be bad. He said there's
Yeah,
certain characters in Tekken that are designed to be bad, and he named the bear as one of them. I guess for Tekken 8, they just said, screw all of that and let's just make everybody good. I think it's because there's a new balancing team, but he said characters like Yoshi are meant to be bad, are designed to be bad. So it's funny that you said, Yoshi's supposed to have, low damage output, bad pokes and stuff like that. Because it's true, he was supposed to be designed like that. But once
yeah,
Tekken 8 came out, they just wanted everybody to be a good character and fixed
and that's something
everybody's
that I
weaknesses.
learned. That's something that I learned like in Tekken 7, like because there was one point in time in Tekken 7 where I was like, why doesn't Yoshi have this? Why doesn't Yoshi have that? But then I realized like that's not what the character is supposed to be. The character is supposed to be this, um, and you just work with the tools that you have. So I feel like there's a lot of people who's looking to the developers to like make their character better. Or like I'm not talking about characters who are like actually buggy and your down forward two is clipping through the opponent. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like my character doesn't have this move that this other character have. I feel like I was doing a lot of that in Tekken 7, but I had to realize like my character is supposed to be a very type of way. And when you start to ruin that, everything falls apart.
Yeah, because it's like that's kind of like Lee, right? Like Lee, they gave him offense tools, even though he's always been like a keep out poke character, like a counter hit fishing character. But they kind of try to force you to like rush down with him with plus. even though his
Yeah.
tools are not supposed to be like for rush down. So it makes the character feel like really like out of place. So I definitely feel you on that. That just Tekken 8. Hopefully when the new patch comes out next week, they fix all those things. So
Yeah.
for the next question, because let's get to the spicy stuff, because that's what people watch this stuff for, right? So
Yeah.
I want to know what made you want to get into the type of content you make, because your content is like very controversial. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody look at the title or just look at it, they'll click on it because they'll be like, yo, like, oh, he's talking about, oh, that's crazy, really, this guy said that? Or what made you get into like the drama type aspect of the community? What made you want to make those kind of videos rather than, the regular videos everybody makes, like, like tutorials, match videos? What made you get into that type of content?
Well, first on like the topic of like tutorials and like teaching people, I don't feel like I'm good enough to do that. I feel like maybe I could give you some strategic advice. Like if you are struggling in rank, I often suggest type of tools and gameplay strategies. But I don't think I could sit down and make a 40-minute video on how to teach people how to play Tekken. I don't think I'm that kind of player.
Yeah,
But when I was, starting to make my channel, it was around the Leroy Falkenraum era, and I just remember I used to watch like Main Man, Eris, and whatnot, and I just was like, these guys aren't like talking about the real problems, like the real, like not that they're not talking about it, but I just feel like they're missing this part. They're missing
yeah,
this part of data. They're missing this part of this. And I just felt like I wanted to add more to the conversation and give insight because a lot of what I try to do as well is base my arguments on like statistical data. Like just as an example, everyone loves to pretend that Clive is unpopular, but in reality, he is the most popular guest character that's ever touched Tekken. And it's just those type of things that like I try to emphasize because yes, we can hate this or dislike that or love this or love that, but when you look at the statistics, when you look at the Harada tweets, because I get a lot of flack for looking at Harada's tweets and making 10 minutes videos about it, but at the same time, people will say something that Harada already addressed or explained, or maybe there's some data out there. So I just try to you know um educate people on like the history of Tekken and not because I feel like Tekken players are very good at the game, very good. But I feel like when it comes to, talking about DLC or characters or, why did Harada do this or, clone characters, that I feel like that's where players don't know. And I'm not saying that they don't know because they don't want to. It's just like a lot of this stuff is super obscure. When you go back and find a tweet from Harada like 7 years ago that has 13 likes, of course no one knows. So that's what I try to do. Um, but also I know like sometimes I do get things wrong. Sometimes I do make mistakes. Sometimes I do like just mess up, right? But I try to like to give the most accurate telling of what's happening. But also, sprinkle in a little bit of Yoshi bias, my opinion, but then the data and whatnot. So that's kind of like, but on the more like drama side of it, I never really thought of it as like drama until recently because I just thought of it as like, let's say I make a lot of videos about Arsenal and Knee. And I don't really view it as like drama in a sense. I view it the same way as like ESPN. You watch the finals or whatever,
yeah,
and then after you have all of the people talking about LeBron James missing the game winning layup. That's
yeah.
kind of what I feel like I'm doing. Um, Obviously not as professionally, but that's like kind of what I envision, when I talk about pro players and Twitter and whatnot.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I said too. Like I like when I look at your content, it's like a news reporter pretty much, or like TMZ. You feel me? Like
Yeah,
you bring in stuff that somebody wouldn't know unless they actively really looking into like the tweets and what's going on in the community. Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the community that people don't know, that unless they really looking for it, like really looking, because there's a lot of stuff outside of Tekken, just playing
yeah,
the game, like issues, that people do not talk about. Like, so like somebody like you, it's good to have somebody like you because there's more people need to talk about more stuff of like why this happens, why this other like why this DLC characters in the game, why they bringing back the two new DLC, the reason why Namco is releasing the DLC the way they doing it, the reason why they slow with the patches, and why Tekken 8 is going the way it's going. So the next question I want to ask: how do you feel about the two new DLC characters, Armor King and Fakuram? And do you believe what people are saying that Armor King is gonna save Tekken 8 and that Armor King is gonna get everybody to come back and play? What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, first, on the topic of like repeat DLCs, I think this was kind of destined to happen. I think that Tekken has probably about 40 characters that should be in every Tekken no matter what. But they can't do more than like a 36 character base roster. It's just not the world we live in anymore. So I knew that Fahkumram and Armor King would show up sooner rather than later because they were some of the most highest played characters in the whole game. As DLC, they were top five. Armor King was four, Fahkumram was five. And the weird thing about Fahkumram is that people like to say that no one likes him, but he's top five usage in Tekken 7. But then also people would say something along the lines of like, people only like him because he's super powerful. And to that point, we will see in Tekken 8. I think it's going to be very interesting Fahkumram showing up at Tekken 8 because a lot of the DLC characters who were popular in Tekken 7, Lydia, Leroy, I'm forgetting another one, but they're not popular in Tekken 7 or in Tekken 8. They're bottom usage in the whole game.
Yeah.
So that could also happen to Fahkumram as well. And I'm interested to see how they will try to make him exciting, interesting, and something that the players will want to play. I do think his trailer was really interesting. He looks powerful. He looks cool. I personally like Fakumram's design. I know people say he's like over designed and whatnot, but I think that when you look at like just the character, he looks weird. But when you look at it in game, I feel like it fits more. I feel like he's more at home when you look at him in gameplay and you're watching. Um, Armor King. Armor King. I feel like I could say more about Fakumram, but Armor King. Armor King is a interesting one because he's literally one of the most iconic characters in Tekken. But I feel like Armor King was one of the most balanced characters in Tekken 7. Just talking about like in a ranked environment. I don't know about pro play,
Yeah.
but he didn't completely destroy your health bar unless it was like some kind of grab or something. He just felt very fair. When I fought against him, I didn't feel robbed at all. And his playstyle was very unique. It was very specific. But with Tekken 8, how they're giving a lot of character stances, plus frame mix-ups, I think that will also be applied to Armor King, and I'm fearful of what that will do to his gameplay, like that he offers. But then on the pay to win DLC side, something that I've just noticed is that we're seeing an escalation in how powerful the DLC characters are. So Eddie was probably like C tier, B tier. Lydia was like B tier, A tier. Heihachi like B tier, A tier. And then Clive is like the first like A tier, S tier DLC. And then Anna, people are saying that she's the best character in the game. So we're seeing them get stronger and stronger and stronger. And when you
Yeah.
have Fakumram show up, that's going to be wild. But then Armor King is by far the most beloved character, like top 10 in all of Tekken, and the devs know that. So they're going to basically do what they did with Launch Leroy, where everyone was really excited for Leroy, and they made him worth it. They made him worth that. Like everyone knows Launch Leroy. I think Armor King, when he shows up, he's going to be one of the most powerful characters in the game, and I fear that players won't call it out because I also think Heihachi is really diabolical. His fifth round performance is one of the highest in the whole game, yet everyone pretends that he's not effective. And I think that's because everyone loves Heihachi and everyone's biased against Heihachi. And with everyone loving Armor King, when he shows up and he's shooting fire that does burn damage, like, I just wonder will players call it out or will they just say, lap the matchup, scrub, get good, you know?
Yeah, the Armor King situation is kind of funny because I'm gonna be real with you. Back then, back then in older Tekken games, he was just like he wasn't really that popular like that. Like nobody played him in Tekken 6, and nobody played him in Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection. He was just kind of like he's always looked like a palace swap of King. He was like a secret character. So like Armor King becoming very very popular, that's like a new thing. And I think guys like JDCR and Little Majin are the ones that help the popularity of that character. Because I'm telling you, back then in older Tekken games, nobody played them. Even in Tag 2, the only person that played Armor King was Little Majin and JDCR. Nobody really played those characters. Even on a casual level, I didn't really have no friends playing those characters. But it's a new popularity resurgence on these characters. I do
Yeah.
agree that I feel like the Tekken 8, the DLC is just a rehash of Tekken 7. They're not really releasing anything new. For one, I know people don't want this, but I want a guest character from another fighting game. I think that will get a lot more people to play Tekken 8. Um, I think Clive as a character, I beat that Final Fantasy. I didn't really like it too much. And I felt like they could have put a better guest character than him. I know you say he's like the most popular guest character, but you know, the when season 2 came out, it kind of killed the whole game, especially with the whole boycott. And the game still hasn't recovered from that. When you go into
Yeah.
rank or even quick match, you still gotta wait mad long to get matches or whatever. The past few days I've been to the fight launch, and it's been a good amount of people, but it's still not as ham as it was in season 1. So for the last question I want to ask you, um, how do you what do you feel about the whole boycott that happened, and do you think it was good for the game, or do you think it was bad for the game? And do you think the developers, because a lot of people think this, I kind of think this too. I think the patch is coming out next week. It's a do or die patch. I think people are kind of tired of Tekken 8, and they're tired of waiting for Namco to make this game better. And a lot of people are saying, yo, if that patch next week don't fix the game, then it's a wrap. I'm gonna be optimistic, and I'll give them till July, because July is another patch, so they're gonna have two more times. But if the patch next week is a L, my motivation is probably I'm gonna lose motivation just like everybody else. So that's the last question I got for you. What you think?
I think the boycott was necessary. Obviously, I don't want it to happen because there's a lot of people who think like like, oh, you're dooming for content or you want Tekken 8 to fail. And by no means do I want Tekken 8 to fail. Like when you go back and watch my older content, you can see how excited I was, how hopeful I was for Tekken 8. But the developers, they just have a totally different mindset or idea of what this game is supposed to be. And I get it, it's their game, they can do what they want, but they have to understand all of the players they, brought along in the 30 years is going to leave. And it's their game, they could do what they want, but who's going to play it? The one thing that I focus on is that the developers are trying to bring in new players, but they're losing a lot of core players, legacy players, veterans, whatever word they want to use. And how quickly are they replacing that? In my opinion, if you lose one veteran, you have to replace them with two new people because the new people aren't as dedicated. So I think that their endless hunger for new players and simplifying the game to cater to those players, it just was so bad. Because even the people who showed up, some people who showed up at Tekken 7, they hate Tekken 8. And it's like, how did you stray so far from what the game is supposed to be? And I think that all of season one, we have been telling them to do this, to do that, this, that, and they ignored all of it. And they were going to continue ignoring it because even if you listen to the way that they were advertising season two, they were saying things like, "Oh, only the pro players are upset with the game. Only the veteran players are upset with the game." Like that kind of they're downplaying what all of the players are feeling, and the backlash needed to happen so it could be a wake up call so they can realize like, no, it's not just the pros, it's not just the veterans, it's literally everyone. And that review bomb showed them, that player count dropping showed them. And hopefully that will make them awake and bring the game back. Like, cause I get it. You definitely need to cater, or not cater, but like you definitely need to try and bring in new players, right? When players move on or whatever, you want the next generation to pick up Tekken. And I think the way that they could do that is by doing collaborations with Fortnite, with Call of Duty. Put Brian Fury, Dragonoff, Devil Jin, and Call of Duty as skins. Boom. New players are coming in. You don't need to reduce the skill of this game to an insane degree so that the people who already are playing are miserable, and then you have like some chalk eaters who don't know nothing, happy. Like, I don't get why everyone who likes Tekken like is treated as if they're like the bad guys. So I don't know. I just think that the boycott was definitely necessary because that's the only way that we are going to get these devs to stop. And I also think what was really good about the boycott is that players are now understanding who's really in charge, and it's Nakatsu. Now, I don't support any type of attacking or making fun of the developers, but it's important that we tell Nakatsu what we want Tekken to be because Harada and Michael Murray, they said they're going to retire after Tekken 9. So and depending on how Tekken 8 goes, who knows if they'll even do Tekken 9. It may just be on Nakatsu altogether. So the
Yeah.
fact that the players are waking up and saying that, you know, this is not Tekken, we don't want it. Nakatsu, Michael Murray, fix the game. I 100% support that because if not, we'll lose our way.
That's 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 facts right there, man. What I was gonna say too, yeah, man. When it comes to the whole boycott, the one thing I'm gonna say is that they thought what they were doing was gonna cater to casuals and new players, but casuals and new players hate it just as much as pro players. Because when you think about it, the majority of people that play Tekken are all casuals. The pro count is extremely small. It's a niche amount of number of pros that play the game.
Yeah.
We don't run the streets in Tekken. So if you making something for casuals and they hate it too, that's a L. That's a L. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that they trying to make this game to be more enjoyable for everybody because it's not enjoyable. Casuals do not like blocking for 30 seconds and eating mix-ups all days, and pros don't like it neither
Yeah.
because it's not fun. It's not fun to not be able to play a game. Some characters like Lydia, they just put you in a vortex heat and you can't even play the game. Lars is another one. He don't let you play neither. Brian, to some extent, don't let you play neither. Hit you one time, game over, right? So
Yeah.
we're gonna see in the next couple of weeks if the game is gonna get fixed. Well, next week, that's for sure. You know, the new patch is coming out. Hopefully it keeps getting better. And yeah, let's just hope for that, man. But I want to thank you for being on this. I have to say you're very well spoken, and was a good interview. And I hope people will tune into your content more after all of this. So yeah, I want to thank you for showing up for this.
I appreciate it. One thing I want to say, just as my content in general, I
Yeah.
know that like in the past, I made a lot of goofy videos. Like in the earlier days, I was a very immature content creator, and I really didn't understand what it meant to be like a content creator, the type of like respect that you have to off. Like it's just you have to really be something that people can like put faith in and trust in, and that's something that I learned along the way. And I know there's a lot of people who like think of me as like, that guy just is this, and it's like I understand all of those criticisms, and that's something that I strive to improve upon and do better. Just like the developers, I want them to get better. I also, look in the mirror and say, this video was bad. That was bad. That was bad. So I do just think about that when I am producing content on what I could do better myself. And yeah, I do appreciate you having me on and allowing me to like, speak Tekken and myself and, just the whole thing.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having you. And yeah, guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and follow Moonsault Slayer. I'll post his all his content on the description and in the comments. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.
Bye.